Dear Diary. Okay, so apparently that man from yesterday is the widower, the one that Charles, the librarian, was talking about. I finished my book last night, so I headed to the library after work to drop it off and pick up something new. I grabbed a couple this time, since I've been reading a bit more recently than I thought I would. It's been really nice to read before I sleep and when I wake up, so I don't just hit the ground running every day, so I grabbed 3 different books that looked interesting. As I was checking out, I got to talk to Charles, and he noticed that one of the books I'd grabbed was one of the few newer books from the Widower's library. There is indeed a stamp on the inside cover of the book that has a "From the Library" seal with a name, I assume, in a language that I don't recognize at all. I'd almost guessed it was completely fictional, like Elvish or Klingon. Anyway, Charles brought him up as he was getting my library card so I could get my books and said that I'd just missed him. He'd just been in dropping off some music from his collection to add to the library. I was curious and asked what he looked like, and when he started to explain an older man who's usually sharply dressed and is gray at the temples, I started to describe Stephen from yesterday. When it all matched up, I asked for his name, and sure enough. So it would seem that Stephen comes to the library regularly, both to drop off new media for the library and to just hang out and talk. So he got to talking with Charles. That's how he knew Noir's name. Him and Charles were talking, and I got brought up because it's a small town and I'm new. It wasn't long after I got Noir, so I guess I was talking about him a lot. I told Charles about our interaction, and he helped clear some things up. Obviously, Charles is why Stephen knew Noir's name, and apparently Stephen is a very strong believer in the ability of cats to find their person. But further, the comment about this place protecting me, well, apparently he is the type of man who is very paranoid about economic bubbles and believes that living in a more rural town and stable areas, like this one here, will protect you from said bubble. Which I can't say that he's wrong about. And that did make me feel a little better about yesterday. Guy's just a little weird, just a little quirky, which I can't fault a guy for. Anyway, after the library, I decided to go to the store and grab some quick stuff for the gingerbread house making. I've always wanted to make a gingerbread house, but have never done it before. I think I like gingerbread. I'm not entirely sure anymore. It's all I can smell now that I've spent a few hours cooking it. It took a while to get things figured out, and we're not even going to talk about the disaster that was my first attempt at making the thing, but I was getting the hang of it by the end. Not gonna lie, I didn't realize gumdrops were actually a thing. They're pretty yummy, actually, just little gummy candy. But I made myself a little house that looks actually pretty cute. A little smaller than I planned, and just a little uneven. But it's still cute, and I just covered it at the bottom with some piped icing. I did have to keep Noir on the hood of my hoodie because he kept trying to eat everything and kept sticking his nose in my icing, but he was content to watch me for the most part. He's probably the chillest cat I know once you put him in the hood. I think decorating was my favorite part of the whole process. That or building. I could live without having to make the gingerbread, but making it pretty, that was my jam. I even made a tiny little doorknob for my door, and I tried my hand at icing some of the roof. It only worked so well, but hey, it wasn't bad for my first time. I will not be quitting my day job, though. I put up my little gingerbread house on the other half of my sideboard next to the hot cocoa bar on a crystal cake stand that my mom passed on to me as a moving gift when I got here, because she knew it was my favorite. It's perfect because it has a lid, which makes it look like a little snow globe, especially when I add the powdered sugar snow around the house. And has the added benefit of keeping Noir from trying to eat it. Seriously, this thing weighs almost as much as he does, so there's no way he's getting into it. when that was done, and I was winding down for the night, grabbing my nightly hot cocoa, and I just stared at my little sideboard for a while. It's so festive and warm, and it just makes me so happy. I decided that I needed to watch a particularly sappy Christmas movie today because that was the vibe, so I curled up with Noir and watched Miracle on 34th Street. I cried, and now I'm too sleepy to read, so I will just be heading to bed. Love and hugs, Violet.